Yeah.
So,
All right, we're at time. So, folks, again, I feel I know most of you. Appreciate we're a couple days out from the major holiday weekend. A lot of people have one foot out the door. Again, Harry Brailsford, SMB Nation. Carl, introduce yourself for the audience that doesn't know you, and then over to Uli. And Uli, I'm going to hand off to you.
so I am the author of several books. I've built and sold a couple of managed service businesses in Sacramento, California. And Harry Brailsford helped me publish my first book. And it's been downhill since then. So
Yeah. Well, here's the good news, because I know you and I talk to authors. You and I caught the tail of the end of the book era. The old book era, man, where you could actually make money. People would literally go to Borders and Barnes and Noble at lunch. I mean,
right. Well, we
so
used to sell
at
books
least,
at the back of the room. Thank goodness I don't have to lug hundreds of pounds of books around anymore.
yeah. And Uli, the man of the moment, where where you at? You're across the island. You're not in Lahaina where you had your residence and business. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah. So obviously, it's 3 weeks ago now, to this day.
Wow.
That we had what seemingly was a small fire, but we had Hurricane Dora pass by very south of the islands. And like usual, we had in hurricane season bought extra food, have extra water jugs, and hunkered down. Monday, the power went out. That was then Monday the 7th. And we ended up evacuating in the late afternoon on Tuesday. And we never saw our house or businesses again. And nobody had anticipated that it would get that bad. But the whole town was basically leveled. So I'm currently, we were staying at some friend's house a few days. We're now currently in a loaner condominium in Ma'alaya, which is sort of around the mountain still, but close enough to get to both to Lahaina and both get to the downtown Kahului-Wailuku area of the island. So we cannot really get into Lahaina. It is completely boarded off by FEMA, and for good reasons. Been a lot of debate about whether or not to allow us locals back in to sift through our rubble. I guess the search and rescue has finally completed, and government is now trying to figure out what is the best plan forward to let residents in to look at things. But there's so much toxic material, so we don't anticipate being able to do so any day soon.
Yeah, I could see that, when I watched the TV. And by the way, this is an open forum, so folks, raise your hand if you'd like to ask a question or something. But that was one of my thoughts, man. As you look at the TV and they're wearing the face mask, right? It's like 9/11 all over again. I mean, this is some nasty stuff. Tell the audience a little bit about your background. You come from Denmark. You're an MSP up until most recently living the dream, but we're going to recreate the dream.
Hope so, yes. So originally from Copenhagen, Denmark, and I was in my early years very fond of electronics. Grew up with the analog days and tapes, cassette tapes and vinyl records and stuff. So I became a DJ and loved that, and then I became a low voltage engineer in an electronic firm, but ended up switching to the computer industry as soon as I met the Intium 486 processor and such, and worked for one of the big distributors in Denmark for Intel platforms, and sold the first Pentium 60 megahertz processors and such. So those were the days. So here in lowman terms in Maui, I always say I've been cleaning Windows for over 30 years. And Microsoft Windows, of course. And I came over here in 1999 as a tourist first, but then ended up creating a little entity to sell telecom hardware equipment from Intel and Dialogic and Group Trout, but ended up becoming a IT person here locally to serve an underserved group of companies, and became the outsourced IT admin and did a lot of break fix and such. But now became it turned into becoming an MSP mostly. But we still do the break fix, and I see that unfortunately has to return because there's a lot that is broken and a lot that needs to be fixed before the managed services sort of can come back.
I didn't think of that. Yeah, I didn't think of that. You've done industry conferences forever. Carl, go ahead. I was going to talk
going to
about
say
events.
that you will be central to helping everybody else get rebuilt from scratch. And that's like a daunting task ahead of you. Like, aside from your personal stuff, helping your entire neighborhood, your entire community go literally from the ground up. That's going to take years.
Yeah. It will take years. I mean, I already bought, crimpers and RJ45 plugs and tools and all sorts of things, and things are shipping in. But it's going to be a while before we can go in and run new wires and install new routers and such. That's going to be first clearing infrastructure, buildings. But like I've been saying to everybody, we all need to get into construction one way or the other. And then, managed services is still a focus point, and we still have customers in other places on the island and in California as well. Those are hopefully still going to be attached to us. And we're just doing the rounds right now, calling everybody. In the last couple of weeks, been, of course, notifying everybody that we're still around. And that's the beautiful part about cloud these days, is that just everything is gone. Let's go down, grab a laptop, log in, bang, you're back in operation. Technically, it's different, but you're still operational, right? So,
well, I can't resist getting chippy. You both know me too well, and it's actually a downfall of my personality. But that's funny that you said, let's all get together and repair. I was expecting you to say, because back when I grew up in Alaska, what we would say is, well, we had an earthquake. Let's all get together and get drunk and then start fixing things.
Oh, we did that. Yes.
Typical Alaskans. But Uli, can you show your screen? I put the URL in chat. So let's talk about your GoFundMe page. And folks, we're here. We appreciate you just being here, right? Your being here, I think, helps Uli's headspace. If it's the kind of thing you can get us over $60,000, so $50,000 was raised in the first 7 days, and we're close, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably the toughest pitch I'm going to make today, because I want to be respectful, but a lot of people have contributed. Look at that, 236 donations. We've had a lot of communities kind of step up, raise their hand, and so on. So, Uli, why don't you tell us about this photo?
Yeah, so this is what is left of my house. I'm not sure if there is any mail in my mailbox, but there was a delivery that day, and I haven't been able to go see it. Actually, we walked by the next morning. We were not allowed to drive in, but we were able to park 2 miles away and walk the beach route through and go in and see what was left. So we can see a mailbox. We can see what is the rest of our roof laying on top of a pile of rubble. And there's a filing cabinet standing there in the middle of the whole thing, full of some paperwork and such. That was my home office. I don't see my desk anymore, obviously, but that's pretty much what's left. And surrounding is the neighbor's building. They're also leveled. You can see in the background there's a condominium building, which is still standing, but it's pretty devastated as well. And that's sort of the last areas that the search and rescues would actually go in. They took all the low risers first, and then they've been in the bigger buildings now. So we just bought this house in 2022, and we were remodeling it because it was an old plantation house. So we changed everything in the same style, but all refreshed and all new appliances, central AC, all the benefits of the modern world. Can't really see that on the picture now. So we hope to be able to redo it at some point.
Well, and you used all of your, not all, but you used a lot of your savings to fix up the house, and insurance company doesn't care, right?
Well, it's the thing is that we were in a jam because we did exactly use all our savings to put everything in it. And for us,
Sure.
being living in Lahaina for over 20 years and renting left and right, we finally got in the market. But this old little house was kind of expensive. We've always chased that, when the house was 300, we had 200. When it was 500, we had 400. When it was 700, we couldn't get to it. So finally, we stressed ourselves as much as we could, and then we on the whole had funds to remodel as well. A lot of the work we did ourselves. So sweat equity wise, about 11 months worth of time, which also kind of took away from my MSP services. My guys had to come over and help me work on wiring and different things. And you take a tech out, he's going to be helping painting and stuff. And said we just wanted to get it done so we could move in. So we only lived there for 4 months, and then it's all done.
Oh,
Yeah. So the paint was dry, but barely. And so what we have is that the insurance we never had another appraisal. So our insurance that was like a standard one is I would say pretty underinsured at this point. I think for personal belongings and that we're probably okay in what they're going to offer us, but how it goes. We got to see what we need, then we're going to get receipts, and it's going to be years. But for the structure itself, and for taking into account that there's over 2,000 buildings that needs to be built, it's probably tough to imagine that this house is going to come back fully the way it was with the insurance that we have. So hence the fundraiser. It's simply it gives us very solid hope, and we obviously we feel we're not alone, as 236 people have participated so far, and we feel very blessed and fortunate that we're able to do it and start this early on, and that so many people have donated. We're very grateful. We also know that what do we go next? What happens the next 3 years? We are still in a lot of limbo. But having this fundraiser and getting these funds and putting them aside and say, wow, it certainly makes that nervous point of not knowing what's next feel a little more comfortable, because now we know we have a part of insurance, we have somebody who cares about us, we have extra funds. We're very grateful. That's for sure.
Well,
Yeah.
Where I live, the town of Paradise is about 50 miles north, or at least it used to be until the entire thing burned down a couple of years ago. Those folks, literally nobody who lives there now, even if you rebuild, you can't get insurance for fire.
Yeah.
Do you think Lahaina will be like that, or will they somehow figure it out?
Tough to say if we somehow figure it out, because we see the same thing in Florida as well, that people can't really get their houses insured. And so the problematic for us is, well, we have to have insurance in order for us to keep our mortgage. So I'm not sure what that ends up with, because we do need to keep our mortgage, and because we have no other way. And we obviously would like to have it insured. Now this is huge devastation, but I can also see the insurance company's point of view. It's like, you guys, this is, unless there's something dramatically changing in the new setup that causes it to be so much safer, like wires in the ground, a better alert system, and a better water supply for the fire departments and such. There's a lot of open factors right now.
Yeah, and folks, be sure to raise your hand if you'd like to chat. But Uli, what I was going to say is, like Carl, I met you early on in the SBS era, and
Yes.
I've known you to go to a fair number of industry conferences. What conferences have you gone to? Have you gone to like WPC at Microsoft, or IT Nation or Datto?
Recently, not so much. We've been busy with obviously remodeling and building out and trying to focus locally here. So about a few years ago, I attended quite a few conferences and flew around. And I
You did.
was at IT Nation once. I've been at what's it called? 2006 and 7, I think. I went to what was the early models of the Microsoft Dynamics conventions in Dallas, Texas.
Okay.
And I've also gone to several telecom conferences with Sandler Partners crew and all the
Sandler Partners. No kidding.
So yeah, so for me being a computer guy as well, we also have a side that is an agency, and so we've been the Sandler Partners for years, and obviously right now we've been busy the last week canceling accounts and subscriptions that they're all level to the ground, so nobody needs any of these connections or anything less. Granted, some of them will need to keep their hosted cloud phone systems and phone numbers to a certain extent, but most of the lines are going to get dropped. So it's going to be bare minimums. So I would say it is having also to raise kids and all that at the same time. In the later few years, I didn't attend that many conferences, but yeah.
Yeah, cool. Let me put in chat, and I just got an update from Aaron, the infamous Aaron Bjork Dumphy is what we knew her. Her maiden name is Eric Chappelle, and so she started as an intern on the small business server team in the late 90s, coming out of Canada, Waterloo, I think it was. And let me put that in chat, her LinkedIn profile, because herself and another name you guys may know, Carl, I can't remember if you met Aaron, but you would have remembered Dean Perrone.
Oh yeah.
So I dropped them a note late last week, and they're, just getting back to me, and I get that Microsoft is a big company, but in working with Uli and Wayne Small out of Australia primarily, we've been on the phone a couple times, and we're trying to get Azure credits to help Uli spin up some disaster recovery scenarios, etc. And so they're trying, Uli. They're trying. I just literally got an email from her, and then Dean's going to call me tonight on his way home, and so we're trying, but we saw it as a good opportunity for Microsoft to, kind of get reinvigorated in our community. So that's one update I have. Folks, we have a little over 5 minutes. We have about 7 minutes left, and I want to honor everybody's time. So if you'd like to come online and turn on your mic, or if you'd like to ask any questions, cool. And we can keep talking too.
I was going to say, are there Danish chocolates in that mailbox?
Yeah, I was going to say that there's a possibility there was, maybe not in the mailbox at this point, but there was some Danish chocolate and some Danish licorice lost as well. We do get care packages and such. It is incredibly difficult sometimes to just, and when you touch that point, it's one of those points that makes my eye a little wet here, because it is material stuff. It is what it is, but there's some of that heritage stuff that we finally built this house, and we finally sifted through everything and said, what are we keeping? And the kids went through all their childhood stuff and says, this is what I want to keep. And we built this attic space for the things that we wanted to keep, but we didn't have room for in the house. So there's, lost treasures there for sure. That has to do with our the origin of our family in Hawaii. And I told my daughter yesterday, I said, "Well, sorry, honey, you were born 3 years old," because that's the first picture that we have left. Um, because that's when the digital camera came in to play.
Right.
And tough statement, but she's a Navy sailor, so she can handle. But it is tough, that part.
On the very practical side, did you have any client data or backups or any of that kind of stuff at your house, or was that all where it should be?
It's where it should be. I mean, the thing is, we have Intel, which is owned now by Cincinnati Bell. They put a fiber in our little town, so a lot of the business communities could get a fiber. So we went from having 25 megabit upload to having 50, 300, 500, right? So all of a sudden we talk serious cloud backup every night, images full every week, incremental every day. So we came from maybe having 10, 20% cloud backups a few years ago to being like 90% of our customers have subscribed and did cloud backups and full imaging. And the other day we were able to, one of the old historic hotels in Lahaina is called Pioneer Inn. And it's one of the first buildings in the little village. And we had all our cloud backup going, and they one of those examples. They just basically need to spin up their operating database, which is in this case their best image hotel, but they have a little local database with their hotel management. And so we were actually able to pull it down, run it on a local virtual machine at another client site here in Maui, and let them get access to it. So their only task now is simply just to cancel, refund, post payroll, that kind of stuff. If even though they don't have a business anymore, right? So
Right.
that's yeah.
Yep. Okay. Hey, Tracy, and Carl, maybe you can double check me. I just made Tracy a presenter, so I think that gives us a mic and a the chance for Tracy. There you are. Thank you for attending.
Hello. Thank you. So first of all, I want you to know, bless your heart. You guys have been in our prayers. I'm super proud to hear how you handled that. I think that that's an example of exactly what we strive to do for our clients, is give them the peace of mind that even in a bad time, they have something they can depend on. So I really applaud that. And what I'd like to know is, how can we help you? Because as you're talking and I'm hearing construction, I'm thinking, I know some IT network guys. I know IT feet on the street that are great. I know cablers, because I work in a world similar to you with Sandler Partners. I do it with 3 of the other master agencies, as well as I have boutique capabilities. And I'm sure a lot of others on here do. So what can we do to help give you the construction crew that you would need to be able to build the entire infrastructure from a technology standpoint? How can we be of service?
Yeah. I mean, that's a big question, a great good question to be answered. The structure with which we need to rebuild, I mean, first, we obviously need the infrastructure itself as per plumbing and electric lines and such. So those are larger than us in the IT community. Before we can roll out cables and whatnot, we obviously need to get designs and buildings. So I think my quest now is to align myself with the construction crews and the architects and such. Better say we are here, but in a capacity we are only, in my team we're only a couple guys, so we are a very small outfit compared to some of the other companies here. So I think for us mainly here is to buoy up, as we say, create a pool of companies that offer these services, and then the question is, when do we need it? How do we get it here in time?
Yep.
And so right now we are still a little bit far away from having to install infrastructure here. Now the other part is there may be other temporary structures that get put up where we could say, well, if businesses is going to try to come back, they need to have a temporary office somewhere. That means we need to have what it's called a like some kind of whether it's a trailer or some temporary office space.
Right.
So that would be in the interim in the next 2 or 3 years. It would be, that's what we need. We need businesses to find another location so they can assemble a crew and focus on their rebuild, but then they need the computers, then they need the internet and some temporary wiring at those locations.
Right. And you're going to need people to be able to do that. You're going to need those feet on the street to be able to help them with all of that. So
Yeah.
I can see that. And my background actually has been construction. My husband owns a construction business, and then I'm in IT. So I really understand where that comes in at, because we got to be in there when they're pulling the wires through the wall and making sure it's a Cat 6 or whatever else we're trying to do. So however we can be of help, however I can be of help, even if you think of something a month later, because bless your heart, buddy, bless your heart.
Yeah, and Tracy, just before I forget, really, and hold your thought, but this is what we did in 2005 with our small business server community when the hurricane in New Orleans hit, and Jeff Middleton was there, one of our leading SBS MVPs, and we rallied. Carl, my recollection is, I unfortunately I wasn't able to make it. I just wasn't in a position in life to go there for a couple weeks and help. But we were supportive. But Carl, I remember a handful of MVPs went to New Orleans.
Yeah. Well, and some other folks like my brother Manuel, he had this really nice artistic picture of Pirates Alley in New Orleans, and he sold those on eBay and donated the money to the recovery in New Orleans. So it was a community thing, and I remember Jeff standing up, and pretty much everybody was crying. Right?
Yeah, I was,
because you were watching it on TV, and I think Lahaina's the same kind of thing where people just see it, and as Tracy said, your heart goes out like, what can I possibly do? So unfortunately, I don't own a ship to send construction materials over, and I do what I can, So
yeah.
I think
Well,
Lars wants to say something.
yeah, he did. He texted me. He had to drop and get on a 3:30 Eastern call. He did want to say something. So, folks, we can take one or two more comments. And again, I want to honor your time. I could certainly go over. But if you want to raise your hand, I can make you a presenter, and we can hear what's on your mind while you're thinking about that. What I hope to do, really, we'll see if I can pull it off. If not, I'll do it another day. But my MSP rescue event in Southern California is November 29th. And my hope and desire would be to come out to Maui after that, right? And just like I say, I'll put on a face mask, I'll put on rubber boots and gloves, and just pick up debris with a shovel. I'll do what I can. That's my hope and desire. And of course, that's I've always enjoyed December in Hawaii. Don't have to sell Carl on that one.
So, and what about other IT consultants on the island, especially outside of the fire range? Are you in touch with them? And is that group getting together to talk about what they can do in the construction?
Yeah, on a small scale, so far, and we're trying to organize it a little better. And there's a couple that I've been speaking with as well. And so I think we're still in the early stages right now. We had the immediate crisis is that we have the schools in Lahaina have been redirected, and all the kids cannot go to school. They're going to go to other schools. We had during COVID school from home, work from home. A group of us that started collecting recycling laptops, refurbishing them, giving them to kids, and with our local Rotary clubs as well. And so we're doing that again, and a couple of groups have collected a bunch of laptops, and we've been recycling them for needy. And I see now we need that for those kids again. But there was no internet on the whole west side of Maui until after like yesterday and the day before the Spectrum cable came back. These guys have worked like night and day. Right after the electric crews, they go in, and right now they're erecting the old electric poles again. And once the electricity is in, they can put the coax cable in and the fiber in, and get that community back online that is still there north of Lahaina. Now we can talk about later putting the wires in the ground, but of course right now there's a community of like 10,000 people that's been offline for 3 weeks, And yesterday, they're pretty much all online again. So now the kids could basically utilize that are misplaced, could utilize some used computer hardware or new computer hardware. So we are trying to do that for the community to get them some machinery, get them online, get them learning. That's the immediate next step.
So I have a friend who is a realtor on Maui, and she posted on Facebook, if people are offering you 10 cents on the dollar for your house, do not make a decision at this time. You know, these are investors, these are leeches coming in,
Sharks.
and they're they're literally going to be trying to buy up property and make a killing on it. And some of them think they're going to build high rises. And I think your Attorney General came out and said, we're not rezoning for high rises in Lahaina. So,
No.
So
And also
I would like to jump. I'd just like to jump in for a second and say to that point, I was part of the Rodeo Chudesky fire that we had in Arizona, which was the largest fire in history at that particular point in time. And we were evacuated, and a lot of people lost their homes. And at that time, my husband owned construction, and I ran Wells Fargo Home Mortgage for the state of Arizona.
Wow.
So when it comes to that, what I saw is a lot of times the insurance company would write the check to the lender, and then the lender would take another 30 to 45 days until you would be able to cash that check. So from an insurance perspective, but we also saw people coming in. But what I saw as a lender who had to sign the checks, because at that particular point in time, being a member of that small community, I signed the back of the checks and figured if I lose my job, I don't care. These people need the money. And I was signing every check that came through that door. And at the end of the day, I got vilified in my company and cheered by my community, and I got a raise and all this other kind of crap, because it's about doing what's right when it matters, regardless what anybody else says. So to the point of the investors coming in, that's true. But what you need to let people know is as they band together, the insurance companies realize they can't, I hate to use the word pick it off,
Excuse me.
but that's kind of what it seems like. So hold fast to what you believe to be fair and true, and stand together united. And it might add a little bit of time, but you should be okay. And proactively address the insurance check when it comes with your mortgage company so that you can have it signed at the branch or local or however without the waiting period. That's a piece of advice I'd share.
Cool. Hey, Tracy, I'm going to put my email in chat. I recognize your name. I'm not sure we've done a whole lot together, and I love Sandler Partners. So let me
Okay.
Yeah, let
I
me
believe I
put
do
my
have, that's
email.
fine.
Oh, do you have my email, harryb@smbnation.com? I want to put you on the A
Yes.
team.
Oh, thank you.
Could you send me a note? I've got a little OneNote page of the A team, and I appreciate your contribution. We have Mark Lubbock. Let's see. I'm on another webinar with the White House FEMA. I know he's pretty active. So a couple ideas offline. Went through Katrina, but the 16 flood, 95% of Parish County was flooded. Business and ISP folks, and you can see this in chat, were impacted, as were residences. How can I connect after this? Still stuck. Yeah, Mark, shoot me mail. You're on the team too. And Carl and Wayne and Uli. But guys, none of us are making any money here. We're doing the right thing. That's what I'm talking about. We have a couple of vendors that are formulating how they can help. So Skykick out of Seattle, Washington, known for their migration tools. Uli, we had a great meeting with them the other day. And I see Stuart just emailed you while we're on the air. Stuart just emailed you with an update, so I'll follow up with you offline. But Microsoft, Skykick, and they're doing it for the right reasons. Uli's been kind enough to say if there is a PR opportunity, he's not. I'd say not opposed to that, but that hasn't emerged as our primary motivation for getting help for Uli. And Carl, you and I traded notes on that, right? That we wanted to be sensitive to the nature of this incident, right?
Absolutely. Well, the other thing is, to be honest, if you're involved in the community, you can expect support. And so, everybody on this call is here because they're, engaged in the community, and we are more than just people who go out and make $1 and then go spend it, and the community is literally worldwide. So, whatever we can do to help. I mean, money's the easy thing, but if there's other things as we're offered, this community is here to help.
Yeah, exactly. Any final comments? I see we have a little bit of a drop off in the attendance. That's not a surprise on an afternoon. Again, I'm just thankful people stopped by. You saw the link. Tracy, you offered words of comfort. So I feel we reached our goal, right? It's just it wasn't, it's not a Jerry Lewis telethon on Labor Day of yesteryear. A lot of you are too young to remember Jerry
I was
Lewis.
just going to say, you're talk about aging yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to say thank you as well to everybody who participated here today and everybody who's been helping with the fundraiser and is thinking and praying for Lahaina and Maui. The biggest next stage for Maui is to come back on the map as a tourist destination.
Oh,
We shut down the whole island, and we shut down not only Lahaina, but the whole island. As we recover, we desperately need people to fly in and live in other areas and enjoy their vacation in other areas. And if can, come and help with something too, of course. But everybody is on unemployment right now, and that during COVID, that was the same thing. Now, this is a little different because we have a localized little area that is in a recovery phase. But right now, as we come to September and October, I encourage people to come over and maybe stay in a different location and keep our economy flowing. So that's my shout out a little bit here.
Yeah, and actually that's a really valid point, folks. With and again, just to stick to the facts, but with the Ukraine invasion, I'm aware of people in my circle of friends that rented Airbnb units in Ukraine and never went. And so that turned into a payment system, right? That was, I call that off the rails in terms of financial transactions, which is great. So you're not, you're not everybody with an international transactions not taking $1 out of the cash flow.
Right. Exactly.
So, yeah, that was an off the rails thing. But Uli, you could do that. A question I have, and Uli, answer Carl Katz's question if you could over in chat. If you can see that, how's Kanapali?
Yeah, I see that. Yeah. So Kanapali is okay. There was a little fire as well a couple of days ago. They knocked it down right away. Kanapali has been completely disabled in terms of electricity and internet for weeks. So there was none of the restaurants or anything. Now Kanapali has been emptied, completely emptied for tourism, and it's only used for FEMA and other rescue workers and displaced members of the community from Lahaina. So all the hotels are full of locals, FEMA workers. None of the restaurants are operational. Now Kanapali has a golf course. It's closed down at this point as well. So they are not really, at this point, not allowed to open up in the capacity they were previously. But as we find more like permanent kind of quote unquote places for the displaced to live, people will move out of the hotels and move into other places, and Kanapali, I call it Kanapali for jokes, but Kanapali will become a tourist destination once again. Now, once we head up north of Kanapali, Kahana, Kahana, Nepili, Kabalua, those places are still open, but there's very limited resources in terms of supermarkets and shopping. So if anybody comes over, stop at Costco or something on the way. That's already it. But they are online. They have electricity, and people are, mostly safe there. The fire has been put out.
Yeah, and maybe the final question I have, and folks, again, we're going to overtime, but I'm cool if you're cool. The But the final question I have is, what's the hubbub on the street? Do you think you will have rock stars doing a rescue Maui Saturday or Sunday concert, like, Farm Aid? You've seen these things, right? They all come together and they do Farm Aid. Are you hearing anything? Maybe it's premature.
Yeah, I mean, there has been a few already, and there has been some, more localized in Oahu, the Blaisdell Center in Honolulu, that have benefited Maui, and they create awareness, they raise funds, and I think right now there's a lot of places where we are all overwhelmed with how many places there are to donate, and the question is, how is that money then well spent? Who does the money go to, and how does that actually funnel down to the people who needs it? And when people needs it, what do they primarily need it for? So there's a lot of questions in terms of fundraising, and the outpour of funds is phenomenal. And it's really tough to say what is the where's your fundraiser? Everybody has to find in their hearts a place where they want
Sure.
to fundraise. And going to a concert and have a little bit of fun, maybe have some brew or something at the same time, is another great way to support a good cause. And I hope to see something manifest shortly. I mean, it would be super nice. I know Fleetwood had a restaurant on Front Street that's completely gone, and he
I was just going to mention
said
that.
he would rebuild. Yeah, he would, want to rebuild again. One thing is to have the commitment and do it. It's just a wait state at this point.
Oh, sure. It's only 3 weeks. Sure.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
Very cool. Well, the ASCII group is going to do an event in Oahu in December. So with luck, you'll wander over for that, and people can shake your hand and buy you a beer there.
Yeah, I actually emailed Elisa, their head of marketing. And in full disclosure, I don't know her super well. I get her press releases, and we tend to slap them up. Okay. And I think she might join me in a chuckle, but I emailed her. Are you a member of ASCII Group, early? Because I emailed her about you.
Yes, I am. I remember Carla saying one time, if there's any one place you should join, it will be ASCII Group. And so I joined, and it's only been like 4 or 5 months or something since I joined. And I'm signed up for that conference in December 7th in Honolulu. And as many folks can come, please come and join in. It seems to be a single day event, but there's a lot of other things surrounding it. Come the day before, leave the day to after, spend a few days in Hawaii. That would be fantastic. So I'm looking forward to seeing folks there. And are you coming, Harry?
Well, I'll try. I mean, and again, I've always been honest with the community. I'm doing my darndest. I'm writing a large check for my son's wedding. It's in mid-October in Vermont. So I'm doing my darndest. Okay. So I gotta spin the hamster wheel a little faster, but hey, I'm motivated. I mean, I'm motivated, and it only takes one thing at SMB Nation, and boom, airline tickets and hotel to Hawaii, right? Because I mean, I'm a small company now. It just doesn't. It's not that hard. And Carl and I have talked a lot about this. I like it. I don't want to be a big company again. It's just not me, you guys.
I put my Google ads on my Hawaiian Airlines card, so I have the mileage. So my plan is to be at the ASCII event there.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, hey, folks, just for and again, I recognize many names on the screen, but let me just put it in chat one more time. If you want to join the A team, Alan out of San Francisco. Thanks, Alan, for joining us. That's a reasonably short flight for you to jump on. Come on down. I think the guy that recently passed away, the game show host, The Price is Right.
Exactly.
So shoot me a note, and Uli, you get the final word. You get the final word, and Carl, I'll let you take us out. You get to hit the leave button.
Okay. Well, thanks again. I wanted to say thank you both to you, Harry and Carl, as well, for getting me all rallied up and help me with this, which is a huge upshake. I should basically be upside down on the camera because that's how my life is right now. But having you folks and having the attention and getting all this help, and it really goes in here, and it helps me build a better future, a brighter future, and it helps me create hope for not only myself and my family, but take that energy and move that forward in the community. So, as we say here, we will rise from the ashes, Maui strong. And thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Very good. All right.
All right.
Thank you. And Harry, thanks for putting this together.
Yeah, no, thank you. All right, everybody have a great holiday weekend in the U.S.
Oh, wait, here. There we go.
Oh,
I'm putting up the wrong signals here.
well,
I don't want any gang
this
signals.
is from Austin, Texas. Okay, this is Hook 'em Horns.
Thank
But
you all.
hey, as they say, can't we all just get along? Right.
Exactly.
All right, Carl, you have the honor of hitting the shutdown button.
All
Folks,
right.
have a great day.
Aloha.
Uh-huh.